This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Welcome back to Future Talk right here on Pulse 95. It is me, Hani Balkis, with Omnia Saleh, bringing you everything you need to know that was happening in the tech world, in the UAE, and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we have very big news coming out of Elon Musk and out of Tesla, because Elon Musk is saying that autopilot was not used in a Tesla car involved in a fatal accident. We do know the big ethics behind Tesla and autonomous vehicles, and Tesla just looks to be under fire.
Yes, indeed, especially because this is not the first time Tesla has crashed, and this time it was a very fatal accident that took the life of two individuals. But coming up on Future Talk as well, we're going to be telling you all about Facebook's attempts at competing with Clubhouse. They are recently planning to launch a new social audio product. What are they, and how can they come in handy? We're going to be giving you all those details in just a few moments.
Even though I don't think anyone can perfect what Clubhouse perfected, we'll see what Facebook does have in store. But ladies and gentlemen, we do know right here in the UAE and in the Gulf region, it does get a little bit of hotness, and it's a lot humid, right?
Yeah.
But what if we could use that for our own good?
Yes, indeed. We can see air. We don't see air. We can feel the air. We can breathe in the air. But what if we can drink air pretty soon? Because today we're going to be talking about a brand new technology that was born right here in the UAE that allows us to drink the humidity in the air. It can easily be turned into drinkable water. And to tell us all about it, today we're going to be joined by the Director, Global Operations at Eshra Water, that is behind this technology, Mr. Ed Atkin, who's going to be telling us all about how it works and how easy will it be implemented right here in the UAE.
Yes, indeed. I'm really excited to get to know about how that works, and I'm excited to tell you guys how it works. Ladies and gentlemen, you're never going to be lonely, so don't be scared, because Future Talk is always with you. Pulse 95 is always with you.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Self-driving cars have always been a dream come true for many people. We've talked about them for many years, and now that they're slowly becoming a reality, a lot of people are excited to buy one, to own one, and to even drive one. But with autopilot comes a lot of questions. You know, if the car gets into a car crash, who gets the blame? And also, who does the car choose to live? Does it choose the passengers, or does it choose the pedestrians on the road? And this is exactly what Tesla has been going through the past few days, because we recently heard of a fatal car accident that a Tesla car got through. 2 people were dead because of this car crash. And Elon Musk came out saying that autopilot was not used in the Tesla car, so Tesla can't be blamed for this fatal car crash.
Yes, indeed. Now, we do know there's a lot of ethics when it does come to autopilot and autonomous driving, especially with Tesla, since Tesla is the main dog in this pin. But, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Musk actually did say the owner of that car had not purchased the full self-driving package that offers used to enhance autopilot capabilities. Now, for those who don't know, you have one, it's just the normal cruise control, which will keep you in lane. It will always keep you in lane. But you have another one, which is the full self-driving autopilot, where you let it go. You put in the map, 1, 2, 3, I want to go to Haida Corniche, and it will take you there without touching the steering wheel. And it changes lanes, does everything on its own. But the user who got into this accident did not have the full self-driving package, which means that autopilot was not actually in play.
Yes, indeed. And what's interesting about using autopilot or self-driving cars is that they're so advanced that they keep a log of everything the user does, just like you would on a typical computer. So the data logs that were recovered did show that autopilot was not enabled, and this car did not, as you've mentioned, Hani, purchase the full self-driving package. So added to all of this, the standard autopilot would actually require lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have whatsoever. So the Tesla Model S crashed into a tree in Houston, and it burst into flame, killing the 2 passengers, but the self-driving capabilities are not the ones to blame in this car crash.
Yes, indeed. Now, officials do say the car appeared to have been driving itself at the time of the crash, according to media reports. But the U.S. Road Safety Agency and the National Highway Traffic Administration did say, and they did investigate, that civilian transportation crashes are also probing the case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of ethics when it does come to it.
Yeah.
I've been over this before. The person who owns the vehicle, not the person who owns the company, the person who owns the vehicle is in charge. If Hani goes and buys a Tesla, and Hani gets into an accident, Hani is in charge. Doesn't matter if I was on autopilot or not. I was driving it because, again, this just opens a big, huge window for a lot of people to do a lot of bad things and say, oops, it was autopilot, it wasn't me. I just ran over 18 people. It was autopilot, it wasn't me.
And you're definitely right about this because in this case, the person owning the car, he had an option to go ahead and buy the full self-driving package that Tesla offers. And the difference between both is, just like you mentioned, the autopilot driver assist feature, it's a standard in all Tesla cars. It will assist you if you need it to. But the full self-driving is what you go ahead and pay an extra, I think, $10,000, almost $10,000 for. So what Elon Musk came out saying is that when we look at statistics actually show that when Tesla is driving an autopilot with the full self-driving capabilities, it is almost 10 times less likely for a vehicle to be involved in an average car crash than a non-self-driving car would be. So in the bigger picture, having a self-driving car is safer because it can reduce human error, which machines do make mistakes, but it's a lot less than what humans would do.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, that autopilot feature is quite pricey. It does go for $10,000, or in the UAE, you do have that option for 30,000 dirhams. Now, after that accident, Elon Musk's net worth actually shaved around $5.5 billion. Now, $5.5 billion is not a little amount of money, and it did drop 3.4% on the shares to $714 per share. So those investors got a little bit of ouchiness. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you to let us know your guys' thoughts. 4215 do us lots, or on our Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Should Tesla be held accountable, or should the driver, the person who purchases the car, be held accountable? We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be telling you what's in Facebook's latest social audio products. And if you don't trust a Tesla, I guess you could take yourself home.
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time where we give you a riddle. And if you can solve that riddle by 9:30 tonight, you're going to get a prize worth 500 dineros, 500 dirhams. It's a lot of money. And we're going to give you the question in a bit. Now, yesterday, I got the question right once again.
I was just going to say, we had everyone at the Pulse 95 studios. Big Ass was complimenting you for for being so smart about it. I'm not sure if people got your hint, but yesterday Hani actually gave a very intelligent hint. He kept saying 9:30 p.m. at night. I'm like, why? We get it. PM, it's at night. But that's because the answer was actually the night.
Yes.
So if you got that right, you got a chance to win the 500 dirhams. But if you didn't, no worries, because every single day we have a brand new riddle where you can get a chance to win 500 dirhams if you just text the right answer to 4215 Dur Ittisalat. And the riddle is...
Yeah, now the riddle is, I don't know why our riddler likes horses so much, but you ride on a horse. The riddle starts like this. You ride on a horse, followed by a car. On your right flies an airplane. Where are you?
I've thought about this all morning and nothing. Like nothing. I thought it could be a field or I don't know. I have no idea. But we'll repeat it once again. You ride on a horse followed by a car. On your right flies an airplane. Where are you?
Yeah.
Do you have any hints today?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm getting my thought process going on. When the first time I read it yesterday, the other riddle, it took me a while to get it, but so I'll get it soon enough. But
if there are any hints, you'll get them by the end of Future Talk.
Yeah, you'll get them by the end of Future Talk. But let's go and talk about something happening on the Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. And we do know that Facebook always likes to not copy but compete with other social networks, and Clubhouse being the ones that's been hurting a lot of social networks. And Twitter went and made their own type of Clubhouse.
Twitter Spaces.
And now it is Facebook's turn.
Yes, indeed, because Facebook is announcing its own version of the popular Clubhouse app that basically does allow a lot of people to listen and interact with speakers. It gained a lot of traction right here in the UAE. But the platform that they're launching is called the Live Audio Rooms. It's going to be available for all users on the Facebook application by the month of June. But it's also going to be available for public figures to go ahead and host conversations. So it is basically a copycat of Clubhouse. They're making live audio both accessible and discoverable. So as a public figure, if you choose to host a certain conversation, your ideas will be heard by the audience, and they also be able to find you through the application Facebook on your smartphone.
Yes, I mean, the company is currently testing that live audio rooms on its group's platform, which is used by 1.8 billion people every month. Now, we do know that Facebook is finally entering the podcast industry, and within the next few months, users will be able to listen to podcasts directly on the Facebook app. Now, more than 170 million people are already connected to various podcast pages on Facebook. More than 35 million people are members of groups related to podcasts. Now, did you guys know that a lot of people listen to podcasts throughout their day, especially people who commute long drives every day?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of people. And what's interesting about it is a lot of people actually use Facebook to market these podcasts. They feel like it's the platform where they can just post their link and people can easily access it. But the annoying thing is people always had to leave the Facebook app to be able to listen to those podcasts. But soon enough, Mark Zuckerberg wants everyone to be glued on Facebook and not leave it at all. They're also going to be introducing a brand new tool called Bytes that will allow users to record brief voice messages and post them on their newsfeed, just like you would with texts, pictures, and videos. So not only can you send voice notes over Facebook Messenger, but now you can even post them on your newsfeed. And over the next few months, a lot of Instagram, Facebook creators will be able to make the most out of it. Let us know, which feature are you most excited for that Facebook is launching? Is it the Soundbites voice note feature? Is it the podcast ability that now you don't need to leave the Facebook app? Or is it the Clubhouse mock-up?
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're talking all about drinking air.
This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Al Saleh and Hani Balkis.
We breathe in air and we feel it every single day, but not every day can you say, I go ahead and drink air. And right here in the UAE, we have lots of humidity. Summer is just around the corner and we're going to be feeling it even more. So what if we can take this humidity and turn it into drinking water? Because one company right here in the UAE has made this become a reality. Joining us today is Director Global Operations at Eshra Water, Mr. Ed Atkin, who's going to be telling us all about how this technology actually works. Welcome to the show.
Omnia, Hani, thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege to be here. We love your show.
We're
Thank
excited
you.
to have
We're
you.
really excited. I mean, we were telling you about the Arabic saying, right? Kol hawa.
Yes. And if any Arab mother is tuning in right now, she'll probably know what kulawa means.
Yeah.
But it basically means to, if your kid is just being a little bit annoying, you just want them to stay quiet for a little bit. But your company is changing the concept of eating air or drinking air to be a lot more beneficial. So can you talk to us a little bit about how does this work? How can we go ahead and drink air?
Okay. Well, I'm going to start off with a statistic.
Okay.
Which is pretty mind-blowing. So it may surprise you to realize that there are 37 billion gallons of water in the atmosphere, just as humidity.
Wow.
And so this is like an untapped resource, right? And we have a technology that allows us to condense this and then treat it in a way that creates incredibly pure, high-quality drinking water. And so, you know, we're in the business of really providing a new way to for people to have water security and to not use single-use plastic bottles, which, you know, we all know are two huge issues of the time right now.
100%. And it's crazy
Sustainable,
to think. Yeah, it's crazy to think that we can make the most out of this humidity because it's there. It's not being
very
used.
much is. Everyone who lives in this part of the world knows that.
Is humidity more likely on the high at night
You're absolutely right.
I
Hani.
wanted to ask that question because sometimes, you go out at night and you see your car, it's like as if it's raining.
Yeah.
But it's nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let me just explain a little bit about the concept of relative humidity.
Yes.
So what's not terribly well understood, when people talk about, people know what temperature is, we all know about that, and we talk about humidity. Oh yeah, it's 40% humidity, it's 60% humidity, heaven forbid it's 100% humidity. We talk about relative humidity, and the humidity is relative to the temperature. So 50% relative humidity at 30 degrees is less water, or is less humid than 50% relative humidity at 50 degrees.
So as the temperature increases,
exactly,
the humidity.
And this is the key point. This is exactly the key point, because if you can then force that air to change temperature and therefore get it to the point where it can no longer hold that humidity to which it is relative, then you have a really exciting moment where that water falls out of the air.
This reminds me of the good old science class back in first grade and second grade, where we get the water to, evaporate or boil, and then we put the lid on top to turn it into water.
Very clever.
So if we can
you get an A in your in your physics. Is it physics or chemistry? Somewhere in
chemistry.
I'll ask my engineers. They'll correct me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But and in fact, we also see this process happening every day. So when you have a glass of ice water on the table in the restaurant, right, and it gets covered in water, and that water runs off and makes a mess of the tablecloth, right? We've all seen that. We've all been there, like wiping the table.
You have to be so descriptive during Ramadan.
Sorry. And so what we get is, so the process is twofold. One is, the clever part is the sensors in the technology being able to understand the temperature and the humidity in the air, and then and really understanding how much they need to drop the temperature of that air so it reaches what we call its dew point, and then being able to push that air at the exact right temperature across what we call condensation coils, which is a bit like the glass of ice water on the table of the restaurant, and also having a really clever coating on those condensation coils so that water just runs straight off and exposes the coil again, so it's not sort of covered in water, but that water runs off and allows more air to come in contact with it and more water to be generated. And so you can create this incredibly efficient
technology
process of generating water.
That is very interesting, and I do have a lot of questions for you today.
Same here.
But if anyone does have a question, text in at 4215, do it slot or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're talking all about air.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Right here on Future Talk, we always talk about crazy inventions. You name it, we've talked about it. But the invention that we're talking about today, I think, has got to be one of my favorites, because it's something that I would have never thought could be possible. We breathe in air, but I didn't think we could drink air.
It is part of our daily life. Every day, literally, most of the year. And we see it happen a lot, especially with, for example, you're boiling some water to make some tea. You see it happen, but it never really came to you until the right mind thought of it.
Yes, indeed. And today we're talking to one of those bright minds that was actually behind this technology. Ed Atkin is joining us today. He is the Director Global Operations at Eshra Water, which, again, is a very innovative name. Thanks a lot for joining us, Ed. It's been a great conversation with you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, Ed. Now, let's go and talk about the purity of the water and how is it maintained.
Okay, well, we spoke a little bit about how the water is generated. And what's really cool about this water is that once it is made, this water is the purest water that you could ever imagine. This has never touched old pipes, networks. It has never been in contact with chemicals in the ground. And so, what you have is such pure water that, if you were ever badly behaved at school and you drank like the laboratory water, that sort of sterile water, and you realize that actually it doesn't taste of anything. that's kind of what it is. And so we actually have to add like minerals and salts back into the water in order to give it like the taste and flavor that people are like, oh, okay, that tastes like bottled water. That's really nice. And that's a really exciting part of what we do, and a clever part of what we do, whilst also keeping the water like really fresh and healthy. And as part of that is to treat it. So we treat it with ultraviolet light, which is a very clever and very healthy and natural way of keeping water fresh.
Yeah.
And then we also have a very sophisticated filtration system. And then it is chilled, and so when it comes out, it's effectively once we've run it over what we call our mineralization chamber, that is really that is mimicking as if that water was in a natural aquifer and coming out of a mountain spring.
I was just going to say it's coming from a spring.
Exactly.
So if we're walking through this process all together, you first get the humidity in the air and you produce it, and then you run it through the machine to condense it, and then it turns into water, and then you also treat that water to make it taste like the water we all drink.
That's exactly right.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
That might sound dumb.
Okay.
But
there's no such thing as a stupid question, honey. Everyone knows that.
But
I feel like we're in science class.
Since we're taking humidity, will that reduce humidity in the environment?
Oh, that's a very good question. And we're actually involved with some very clever scientists doing like airflow, computer assisted sort of analysis of this. But everything that we've seen is the short answer is no. We talked about the 37 million billion gallons of water in the air at the beginning, and that's just such a phenomenal amount that it's not going to make any difference. In fact, interestingly, we have some of our products are designed for indoor use, right? And actually, when you're in an air-conditioned environment, your air conditioning works better when you have a lower humidity. So actually our products not only produce water inside, but they make your aircon better as well.
Nice.
Like a double whammy.
So this is all great. It's a great technology. We're getting water. But the question is, how is this technology being operated? Is it consuming a lot of electricity? How much electricity is it consuming?
That's a really good question. Obviously, it takes some energy to run these products, but for example, our machine that makes 30 liters a day, or even our machine that makes about 100 liters a day, is not using any more energy than an air conditioning unit. So the cost of running these things is very, very low. And actually means that you are getting water that is about 6 times cheaper than bottled water.
And also, you did kind of talk about reducing the use of plastic bottles. How?
Henny, I'm pleased that you asked, because this is really the thing that that motivates us.
Yeah.
We see ourselves as a sustainable technology company, and our technology allows us to produce water at the point of consumption, very, very healthy, of the same sort of quality that we all want to drink. But what it means is that you're not having to produce a plastic bottle, which of course involves oil, and in fact it takes 3 times as much water to make the plastic bottle as that plastic bottle will hold.
Wow.
Which is a shocking fact,
You're
right?
wasting 3 times more water.
Yeah, and then you've got to fill that bottle. That normally comes from desal in this part of the world, and and that has we know that has implications on our marine ecosystems. And then you're in the business of transporting that water. I mean, it really saddens me when I see on supermarket shelves or in restaurants water that's been transported from halfway around the world. And it's kind of criminal because you don't need to. And there's huge carbon footprints involved in the transport of water. And so, the fact that we are able to produce water at the point of consumption without the need for single-use plastics is our motivation. And I'm just going to give you a really nice fact. That
I love the facts today.
I'm so pleased. We take great pride in these. And I'll make sure you write this down. You better be taking notes, all right?
All right, doctor.
With the projection of the units that we're selling and that we're putting into the community in the UAE, and the amount of water that they are generating, our forecasts show that those products and those machines will be saving the use of 166 million single-use plastic bottles by the end of 2022.
Wow.
Do you know how many turtles in the sea have you saved from?
I don't have a fact for that, Anya, but I can get back to you on that.
There's so many.
But that's so important to us, and it's difficult to visualize what 166 million plastic bottles looks like. But I think the numbers speak for themselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you think about it, we talk about recycling. We talk about disposing these plastic bottles in the right way. But what if we can reduce them to begin with?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly what we're also going to be coming back to talk about, how you can find this form of technology where you're able to drink water from air at your own home. And it's going to be a lot more sustainable in terms of costs. If you have any questions for Ed Atkin, make sure you share them with us at 4215 do it or send into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio.
This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Al Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Whenever we think about the one thing that we can't live without, the first thing that comes to mind is air, and the next thing is water. And today we're talking about both of those things because there's a form of technology that can turn the humidity in the air into drinking water. And it's available right here in the UAE. You guys have been very excited about it. We've already been getting questions about how they can find it and where they can find it. And to answer all those questions, Ed Atkin, Director Global Operations at Eshra Water, is going to be giving us all of them.
Now, before we jump into the questions, that obviously it's been a very, very good time with you on the show, and obviously we have been getting text messages in, and they do want to know the website where someone could contact you guys.
Okay, Hani. So the website for Eshra Water is eshrawater.com.
Oh, believe it or not.
So ESHARA water.com. And there you can find all our contact details, and you can see our products. And you can see, how some of the technology works as well.
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit about how that technology works if someone wants to get it in their own home. So it's a great concept, but how easy it is to install in an office or a house?
That's a really good question, Omnia. So this is exactly this comes down to the sort of the crux of what we have tried to create, and trying to create this into a sort of consumer technology. And we started off with very big machines that make 1,000 liters of water a day, which you can stack together to produce as many thousands of liters you want. But we thought, how do we bring this to people who, how do we bring it into your office, into your home, into the hotels where, people are using single-use plastic bottles or your 5-gallon water dispensers, and how can we make it accessible? And so our engineers got to work, and they did a lot of clever stuff. And out the back of that came our smaller range of products, which are really designed for indoor use. We've got a 5-liter product which is going to be released later this year, and we've got a 30-liter machine which, as I was saying earlier, is designed for indoor use. So it's really designed to replace your 5-gallon water dispenser. It's the same sort of size and shape, but it looks much cooler and much more futuristic, as you would expect. So those are our our sort of products that are designed for a consumer audience, a consumer market. And then, as I said, we've got our slightly larger products which are for outdoor use. We've got something that makes 100 liters of water every day and 1,000 liters of water every day. And we're even working on a concept of essentially a water farm, like a solar-powered water farm, which is going to produce hundreds of thousands, even millions of liters every day.
You also mentioned that they have one of those coolers actually right here in the heart of Sharjah. Can you talk to us about it?
That is correct. So we have one of our 1,000-liter-a-day units at the University of Sharjah, which is a huge privilege for us because we see this as part of not only sort of our corporate social responsibility, but as a way just to educate people about the technology that's out there, and to have that in such a beautiful university up here in Sharjah is a pleasure, and we hope that the students of AUS can go and have a look at that and taste the water and be inspired.
I'm already inspired.
I mean, I do want to try that water, though. I do want to try that water. But you did talk about solar energy, and you talked about how you can use the machine using solar energy. Let's talk about how much energy and electricity these machines do consume.
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's sort of it depends on the size of the machine and how much you pay for that for your power, whether you're on commercial rates or residential rates. But really, these units are very cheap to run. They're producing on average a liter of water for about 25 fills. That's pretty cheap.
That's very cheap.
When you compare it to
one plastic bottle is like 1.5 dirhams.
Exactly.
So
the amount of energy that it's using is pretty low.
Then you heard, I like it. I like it a lot, and obviously sustainable. You're recycling in the water, or I think you call it recycling it.
Is it recycling the water?
That's a good question. Are you recycling, or are you just like repurposing?
Because we do know the water comes back up constantly. A lot of things that I didn't pay attention
it's just
back in school.
It's the beautiful circle. It's the hydraulic cycle. I think
Yes,
that's what that just came to me. I'm not sure I've said those words for like 20 years, but there you go.
Well,
It rolled off the tongue.
Your science teacher would be so proud
would,
of your invention today.
You came in clutch.
Ed Atkin, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you the very best with Eshra Water, and we hope to find it in every place right here in Sharjah and all around the UAE.
Omnia, Hani, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It was a pleasure. We really had so much fun, but unfortunately the fun is going to come to an end because we do have the halftime show, the only place at 3 in T-minus 6 minutes.
Yes, indeed. But before we leave you to find out the latest on what is happening in the world of sports, we want to give you a quick riddle. So just a reminder, you get a chance to win 500 dirhams if you send in the right answer to 4215 door itisalat before 9:30 p.m. And the riddle is, you ride on a horse followed by a car. On your right flies an airplane. Where are you?
Well, I'm going to say it one more time. You ride on a horse followed by a car. On your right flies an airplane. Where are you? Text in your answers at 4215 door itisalat or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio before 9:30 p.m. Evening Kalak with Michaela Atiyah and Aisha Al-Mazmi. We'll be announcing the winner, and you got a chance to win 500 dirhams.
Yes, indeed. You can catch us again tomorrow, same time, same place, from 2 to 3 p.m. only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.